If you're a cat owner, you know the feeling. That moment of perfect peace, just shattered by a sound that sends a jolt of panic straight through you. It's such a common problem, but man, it can be incredibly stressful. So today, we are going to demystify it.
You know the one I'm talking about. That deep, rhythmic heck sound. You could be in a dead sleep, 3 rooms away, and you are suddenly bolting upright, sprinting to try and lay down a towel before it's too late.
And yeah, we might joke about our puke-o-matic cats, but seeing them throw up is always a little concerning, right? We've kind of been told that it's just what cats do, but the truth? It's a little more complex than that. So let's dive in and figure out when it's okay and when it's really time to call the vet.
Okay, first things first. Let's put on our little detective hats, because not all cat puke is created equal, and your very first clue is figuring out what you're actually looking at.
So, the most important distinction you can make right away is between vomiting and regurgitation. Regurgitation is totally passive. The food basically just falls out. It often happens right after eating and looks like a tube of whole, undigested food. That's because it never even made it to the stomach. Vomiting, on the other hand, is active. You'll see their little tummy muscles contracting. It's forceful. This is a huge clue for you and your vet.
All right, now for the part nobody really loves, but it is absolutely crucial, the investigation. You got to look at what came up, because that gives us some of the biggest clues about what's going on inside your cat.
Think of this as your quick reference guide. If you're seeing clear liquid or some white foam, that's often just an empty, irritated stomach. Yellow liquid, that's bile, which usually means their tummy's been empty for a while. Seeing that whole undigested food points back to them just eating way too fast. But look, that last row is the one you really have to pay attention to. If you see blood, whether it's bright red or dark like coffee grounds, that is an immediate, no questions asked call to your vet.
And of course, we have to talk about the most infamous cause of all, the hairball. You know, when your cat grooms, their tongue acts like a little comb, pulling out all that loose fur. And they swallow it. Most of the time, it just passes right on through. But sometimes, it collects into a lovely clump and, well, you know the rest.
But here is a super important myth buster. We all just assume hairballs are normal. The real key here is frequency. If your cat is coughing up a hairball more than once, maybe twice a month, it might not just be a simple hairball. It could be a clue that their whole digestive tract isn't moving things along the way it should be, a sign that something else might be going on. Now, for the most critical part of this whole thing. Let's talk about the red flags. These are the signs that mean you stop investigating and you start acting, like right now.
I really want this to sink in. A single episode of throwing up might be nothing to worry about, but certain signs can mean this has escalated into a true medical emergency. And your ability to spot these signs, it could make all the difference.
This right here is your emergency checklist. If the vomiting is happening over and over, if you see any blood at all, or if it comes with other symptoms, like they're just lying around, not themselves, it's time to call the vets. Same goes for diarrhea, refusing to eat or drink, or if you check their gums and they look pale. And if you even think they swallowed something they shouldn't have, don't wait and see, just call.
You know how cats love to play with string and rubber bands and especially hair ties? Well, those things are incredibly dangerous if swallowed. They can cause a life-threatening blockage in their intestines that requires emergency surgery. Seriously, if your hair ties keep vanishing, it's time to lock them up somewhere safe.
And you've got to be aware of potential poisons in your home. Things like lilies, which are beautiful but deadly to cats, antifreeze, rat poison, and even some common cleaners can be fatal. Vomiting is often one of the very first signs. If you suspect poisoning, it is a race against time.
Okay, we've gone through some scary stuff, but now that we know how to spot the problem and recognize the dangers, let's talk solutions. What can we, as owners, do to be proactive and maybe even prevent some of the more common issues?
So if you've got a little speed eater on your hands, the solution is often pretty simple. Just slow them down. Instead of 1 or 2 big meals, try giving them several smaller ones. You can also get a slow feeder bowl or one of those puzzle toys. It makes them work for their food, which not only slows down their eating, but is also fantastic for their little brains.
Oh, and here's another super common mistake, switching your cat's food too quickly. That is a guaranteed recipe for an upset stomach. You have to give their digestive system time to adjust. So the rule is a slow transition. Over about a week to 10 days, gradually mixing in more and more of the new stuff. As you can see, patience is everything here.
So what do you do if your cat just has a single, isolated vomiting episode, but seems totally fine otherwise? Well, the standard advice is to give their stomach a little break. No food for about 12 hours, but make sure they always have fresh water. Then you can try offering a tiny bit of something bland, like plain boiled chicken. If that stays down, great. You can slowly go back to their normal food. But remember, and this is important, if the vomiting starts again or any other symptoms show up, it's back to calling the vet.
We have covered a lot of ground here, from decoding the mess to spotting emergencies and taking action. So let's just bring it all home to the one big idea you absolutely need to remember.
This is it. This is the single most important thing to take away from all this. We really have to get past this old idea that some cats are just pukers. A one-off incident? Okay, maybe. But chronic or concerning vomiting is a symptom, not a personality trait. It's your cat's way of telling you that something is wrong. So the next time you hear that dreaded sound, you're not just going to panic. You're going to be an observer, an investigator, and a well-informed advocate for your best friend. You now have the tools to listen to what they're telling you and to act on it.